What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down all of my trades from the morning. And it's not going to take very long because I didn't trade very many stocks. I came in this morning feeling a little nervous. So yesterday, Monday, I was up $25,000. Not a bad day, but if you recall, on Friday, I was down $44,000, which was my second biggest red day of the entire year, and it put me red on the month. And guess what? Just before I woke up, the last dream that I had the last night while I was sleeping was that I bought a stock at about $11 a share, and suddenly it dropped to $4 and I lost $25,000 in an instant. It was like in seconds. And so I woke up and I was like, oh my God. It's like, it was only a dream or a prophecy. One will never know. So this morning I was being very cautious. And in fact, there was a stock that squeezed up to about 11 and then immediately tanked. And as soon as I saw $11 a share, I was like, I can't touch that. Couldn't possibly. So I scared money doesn't make money, and I wasn't feeling comfortable taking a lot of risks. So I didn't make a lot today, but I think that's all right because, to be honest, there wasn't a lot of really good quality setups during the early pre-market session. And in fact, the only stock that's going up right now is going up on no news. It's got 17 million, now 21 million shares of volume. Volume is cranking, but there's no catalyst. And I have a little bit of a hard time trusting that after the slow week that we've had. So one of the things I often say is that when the market starts to pick back up after being slow for a couple days, I often will miss the first stock because I just will have lower expectations for it. This stock basically halted up on like 10,000 shares of volume or whatever it was, 100,000 shares. It opens, it sells off, then it comes back up, pulls back, and then it pulls away right here. Then it dips, and then it pulls away a bit more. It dips a bit harder, pulls away again, dips, pulls away, dips, and now it's up here all the way to $7 a share. This is up 169%, making it the leading gainer with volume on the day. And I feel kind of silly for, sticking to my ground and saying, holding my ground and saying I'm not going to trade it, given how much it's up. But at the same time, for me, I know that I usually do the best on days when I can get my cushion earlier in the morning between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And then once I've got that cushion, I can afford to take some risk. And today, I didn't get the cushion, so I couldn't afford to take risk. All right, so let's break it down. These are the two stocks I trade today, up $5,789.80. And we're going to definitely include the cents today because it's going to add up. This is not a big green day for me. Daily goal is 20 grand. So only a quarter of my daily goal. But I shouldn't complain because this is good and certainly far better than another red day, which is the last thing that I want. So when I first sat down this morning, our gap scan was a bunch of higher float stocks. I mean, you could see it right here. Other than CWD right here, all of these stocks are slightly higher float. So, SMXT, it's got 234 million shares of volume, which, to be honest, kind of blows my mind because, it's like everyone was trading this, but I knew that it didn't really have that much upside potential just based on the float. But I guess, I don't know, a lot of traders maybe don't look at the float. They just look at the rate of change and trade it anyways. YMAB, 29 million share float, STAA, 49 million share float. So these stocks all have higher floats. And so generally I wouldn't expect much of them. And so I didn't trade them. But earlier this morning, AUUD pops up on the scanners. Now, there was a headline at 6 a.m. It popped up at 6, it pulled back, and then it curls back up here. And when it started popping up, I was like, honestly, guys, I don't know about this. The news was at 6 a.m. If it was really so strong, it would have gone then. It popped, it pulled back, and now it's going. However, I did talk myself into a trade. Now, there are a couple things that this had going for it. One, lower float. Number two, a daily chart where it had been beaten up for a while, had potential for a curl, a pivot at 729 that gave us room back up towards 14, and it did have news. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll take a stab at it. And so what I did on this one, my first trade was buying it at just over $7 a share. So let's back this up here, go like this. So this ends up squeezing here like this. It dips down. I buy on the dip here. We get a little pop back up to about 720. So a small winner there. It then pulls back, it comes back up, and I got in right there for the retest through the high, and that was the bigger winner of the two. So in total, only $3,000 of profit on this. This is not a home run. I didn't take big size. One of the things I might have mentioned, I think I mentioned in yesterday's recap, is that I'm taking the approach of being a little bit more defensive and trying to build that cushion before I get aggressive. And for me, it just feels like that's kind of what I've got to do right now until things improve. So then NUWE pops up, has breaking news. Initially, it pops up right here. It dips down. I jump in it, and it squeezes from 720 up to a high of 880 with small size. I made about $3,000 and gave back $300 off the top. So that put me at $5,700 on the day. And that trade was at about 8:15. And then I just kind of sat here patiently waiting. And we didn't get anything at 8:30. We didn't get anything at 8:45. We didn't get anything at 9. We didn't get anything at 9:15. And then all of a sudden it's 9:30, the opening bell. And I saw CWD halt up, and I said, well, based on the action we've seen this morning, I can't imagine this is going to work. It's got no news. What does that have going for it? A low float, a beaten up stock, somewhat recent reverse split, beaten up, and now curling. But it just didn't feel like today that we would have the sentiment for that to work. So I am surprised. Look, I'm happy to see it has gone up. I'm glad for anyone that traded it and made some money. I just didn't expect it. So what does that mean going into tomorrow? Well, I suppose to pay extra attention to stocks with floats of under 1 million shares, even if they don't have news. And yet, let's go back to NUWE, a stock that has a float of under 1 million shares and actually had news this morning at 8:15. And what does it do? It goes up, and then the next thing you know, it's down on the day. So I'm really not sure. I'm a bit puzzled about sort of the rhyme and reason of why some are working and why others are not. And this is part of the thing with trading a market that's a little bit more mixed or kind of indecisive. When you've got really strong momentum, it's just the price action is more predictable. And when it starts getting a little bit sort of undecided the way we're seeing, you'll have some that work, they sort of catch a bid, they catch some momentum, and next thing you know, they're squeezing. And then you have others that look like they should, but they kind of don't. So people are being a little bit more hesitant. And, look, it's been a few trading sessions since we saw something really go totally crazy, like 300, 500%. So I'm looking forward to the next stock that does that. Is it going to be CWD with no news today? I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that, but it's already exceeded my expectations. So who knows? Maybe it will. But am I going to be the guy that buys it up at the top here? No, I can't. I don't have the cushion on the day. I'm already in a position where I'm red on the month. I've got to kind of, be on the defense to recoup those losses and get myself back to whole. And this is actually one of the things that I'll say is really tricky about going into the red early in the month. You have to dial it back. You've got to kind of, pump the brakes and slow down because you don't want to spiral and get a deep red month that you can't recover from, and then it becomes a fully official red month by the end. When you're red at the beginning of the month, there's still time to recover and finish the month in the green. But these next few days, I've got to throttle back. I've got to be a little more conservative, chip away small base hits, and make sure I don't catch another $25,000 loss, because then I'm right back down to the low of month, right? Or, whatever. So this is an opportunity cost. That loss from Friday is now continuing to cost me every single day this week, because the worst thing I can do is continue to trade really aggressively and have 2 more big red days because the market's not as strong as it was 2 weeks ago, right? I don't want to do that. So now I've got to take my foot off the gas. I've got to be more conservative, and I've got a little bit of the fear of this loss. So now it's like, all right, all of that leads to me being less aggressive, which is probably the right decision, but it means I missed out on CWD, and I've probably missed a few others because I trade with smaller size than usual. And so, then next thing you know, I come to the end of the first week of the first, of the new month, and I don't have a big profit cushion. So then going into the second week, I don't have, this cushion where I can take risk and be super aggressive, right? I'm still kind of trying to just catch up. And unfortunately, I might spend the whole month in catch-up mode. And then it just feels like I sort of mistimed the whole thing. And look at that. That right there is what we call a jackknife. The way it kind of popped up and then reversed back down. Notice that the MACD was negative right there. Those can be very difficult. Now, I'm surprised that it just rallied back up to 750. Usually a jackknife like that, when you get that drop, it doesn't recover. So especially with a negative MACD. So this one really is surprising me with this price action, going from 730 all the way down to 650, then all the way back up to 796, and then back down to, what was that, 7. I mean, this is, yikes. This could give you some whiplash. And in fact, I feel like I'm on a little bit of a losing streak. So over the weekend, we went to a gender reveal, right? One of those parties where you find out if the baby's gonna be a boy or a girl. And I was like, does anyone want to, put some money on this thing? Let's see, let's make this interesting. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put a little money on twins, because why not? That's kind of like, really juice up the odds. So I was like, twins, I'm going to put a little money on twins, and then I'm going to put the rest on it's a boy, because I just had a feeling. Guess what? It was a girl, and a single girl, no twins. I'm broke, bust. I lost. So my losing streak right now is sort of unprecedented, and it goes far outside just trading. I mean, it goes all the way to predicting the gender of a baby. So I'm kind of struggling right now. And at this point, I just feel like I've got to take it slow. And so that's kind of where I'm at here. Tuesday, finishing the day, fortunately in the green. And hey, we'll live to trade another day. So I'll be back at it bright and early tomorrow, live streaming. So those of you guys who haven't already done a 2-week trial, check it out. 2 weeks, $20. You get to watch the recovery here. And, you'll see me trading a little bit on defense, a little more conservative. But man, if we get something that starts to open up, I will definitely put the pedal to the metal. So those of you guys tuning in on YouTube, reminder as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow. If you want to check out a couple more episodes that I've recently uploaded here to YouTube, I'll put links to them right here and right here. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. All right, I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.